This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome to the Advanced Prostate Cancer Virtual Group on Monday, December the 16th. How'd I do, Jake?
You did okay. It's high risk, recurrence, and advanced.
Oh, okay. You're right. I forgot the high risk.
We know what you're talking about.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let me just run down. It looks like a small crew again. So we've got Jake and Len and Jeff Markey and Joe Blanchette and Ken Anderson, Le Shelderup and Sylvester. Did I miss anybody? Okay.
That's it.
That's it. All right. Well, that's it for now. But oh, wait a minute. Did I put Larry Fish on there? I did miss somebody. Larry Fish. Larry Fish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no consequence. Just like everybody else.
That's what you're supposed to say. Yes, you missed someone.
Oh yes, you missed me, but just poor little
Okay.
poor little buttercup.
Okay, Buttercup.
That's like one of those things where you say, if you're not here, raise your hand.
That's right.
It's when my participants who speak bad at my staff, Russian, go to their what do you call it, jury duty,
Yeah.
and the judge says, "Everybody who doesn't understand me, please raise your hand," and then they raise your hand and they keep you 5 days till 3 p.m. It really happens like that.
All right. Well, look, since we skipped over you, we'll ask you first, Mr. Fish. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about today?
Not at the moment. Still in limbo.
Okay.
Happily in limbo.
Okay. Jake, anything new for you this week?
I do have an announcement I'd like to make.
Okay.
Sad announcement.
Leonardo, anything for you?
No, sir. Thank you. Nothing new.
No?
Nothing.
Okay. I have to tell you, Len, I got invited last night to a 7-fish dinner on Christmas Eve for the
Oh,
first time. I'm very excited.
what were the 7 fishes?
7 fishes, yes. Okay.
What were they?
Well, I haven't gone yet. I'm going on Christmas Eve. I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. I thought you had an early celebration. Sometimes they do that.
No. I've been invited for Christmas Eve. I'm very excited. My father, God rest his soul, when he came here in '86, he made some friends and he used to go every year and he'd tell me about it. And I've never been invited, so I'm very excited to go. So
Well, I hope you like fish.
I love fish. Okay. Jeff Markey, anything for you?
Well, I could make a comment about what I've found between different types of CBD.
Okay. We're always grateful for the CBD update. Joe Blanchette, anything you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions for Len.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, I think you have an update for us, correct?
Yeah, sure, I can update.
Thank you.
You guys already know, but I don't mind sharing it with the group.
Okay. Les Shelderup, anything that you'd like to talk about tonight?
Not this evening, thank you.
Okay. Sylvester, anything you'd like to talk about tonight?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, we could have a short meeting tonight. That'd be nice. All right. We will start with Jake.
Okay. This is a sad announcement. Chris O'Connor passed away today.
What?
Yeah. I saw his family posted it on Facebook. I don't have any details. I don't know if he was in a hospital. I don't know if he was at home. I just know that he passed away. Not a whole lot of people know him from this call, but he was a regular participant on Rich Jackson's Speaking Freely and Inner Conversations from John Teisberg. I know Sylvester knew him, and Rich knew him. I'm not sure who else did, but anyway, it's very sad. Young guy. He would have been 55 in January.
Was it prostate cancer, Jake?
Yeah. He had a lot of problems. He lost his eyesight. He had to wear some kind of special prism because he had a tumor. It was in his skull. He had it in his shoulders and his spine. It was just, he was not feeling well for quite a long time. Sylvester knows about that. He'd come on and talk about it, and you could tell that he was just not feeling well. So I guess you could say it's a blessing in some ways. By the same token, I know I'll miss him. So I used to call him on the phone once in a while and just talk, and we missed him in our conversations, Speaking Freely, and always helpful, always try to be helpful and informative to other people. And a loss to the world, and to his family, of course, because he's a pretty young guy. I think he still had kids at home, I believe. I'm not sure about that. He wasn't quite as young as Tebow. Like I said, 55, and he would have been 55 in January. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Well, I remember the last time him coming on a call that I was on, which might have been a Speaking Freely call.
Right.
He rarely came on this call.
Right.
It was not this month, but the month before. And he seemed pretty well at that point in time. I mean, did he just go down really quickly, Jake?
I don't think so, Rick. I think he had quite a bit of pain for a long time. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it was years, but I think certainly months. I think he'd have a good day occasionally, but generally it was not. They were not good days. A lot of pain.
This I don't understand, because the people, the oncologist or whoever, they say that pain can be controlled these days, and yet I always hear stories of guys in a lot of pain when they die. So what's going on there? Are they poorly cared for?
Well, he had insurance issues. I know that. So I don't know whether he had full insurance coverage.
That could be. I know he had been self-employed at one time, so I don't know if he, like you said, he probably did not have good insurance. I don't know.
I mean, he did definitely complain about his insurance, because I mean, I heard him, and about costs. I mean, he was very sensitive, but I mean, I do kind of agree with Len that, I mean, there isn't good reason for people to be in continuous and severe pain.
Well, if you remember, Rick, he was, and I know we talked about that on this call. He was not a fan of the medical profession. He wanted to do the naturopath path. Taking vitamins and minerals and all that kind of thing. And I think he may have just waited too long. I haven't talked to him for the last month. Like I said, I tried to call him and he didn't answer it. I'm sorry, I didn't call him. I sent him a message on Facebook and I didn't get a reply. So I don't know what kind of condition he was in the last month or so. Hopefully he was on pain medicine. Hopefully the last month was not bad, I hope.
Yeah, I don't buy that insurance being the problem for pain meds. I mean, the price of stronger opiates, and fentanyl, and morphine, those prices are pretty low unless you're doing some weird combo drug.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Larry. They are cheap. They're all of them are generic now, and very inexpensive. So
I think it was more of the latter, that he wasn't happy about taking the pain meds, and he wasn't happy with the community. I remember when we last spoke to him, Ken, he was on the under 60 board.
Yeah, he was.
Ah.
You know, and prior to that, I had talked to him 5 or 6 times. You know, so I didn't think he was that far along, though I know he was kind of doing his own thing, which I tried to convince him, you know, wasn't the best thing for him, but he was pretty much on his own track, you know. He definitely didn't want to listen about chemo or anything like that.
Yeah.
My father died of prostate cancer about 10 years ago. He was in hospice for maybe the last couple of months, but it had gotten into his bones, and he was in a tremendous amount of pain unless he was really drugged out. I don't know if that's real common, but he was so inured to pain that he had his teeth ground down without Novocaine and recapped. And yet the pain from the cancer was just unbearable for him.
Yeah, I missed the beginning, Jeff. Was that you said a friend of yours?
No, my father.
Oh, your father.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, something I'm really looking forward to.
even when he was in hospice, he was still in pain, Jeff?
Well, if he wasn't drugged out, he was in pain.
Oh.
And,
I would just reiterate what Ken said, which was that, I mean, we encouraged him to get treatment. He never really wanted to, and there were options, but he never really took them up. And we suggested other docs, and he always sort of complained about his insurance, and he was limited, and but I did not get the impression that he was that sick. And the last time I saw him because he showed his video, I mean, he didn't look, he wasn't cachexic. So I'm not sure. I mean, we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he preferred a death with dignity option. I wouldn't put that past him either.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, but either way, it's it's a surprise to me, and I think to Ken and to some of the other people that are on the call who did know him. When was the last time you spoke to him, Ken?
You know, it was the 2 days prior to the under 60. I did put a call out, but he never called back after our under 60 and before the last meeting that you guys had. I didn't hear back from him. You know, 30 days had gone by, almost 30 days. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's about the same for me. It's been about 30 days since I had any contact with him. On Sylvester, had you spoken to him at all?
No, I never have spoken to him, and I never have sent an email. But I think he was on a couple of weeks ago. He was on the call for a short period.
Yeah, and then you're right, and then he dropped off.
Yes.
He was on about 10 minutes and dropped off.
But as long as I've been attending the group with him, he seemed to have always been significantly more severe than some of the people I've heard. I got the impression his condition was just as severe as Tebow's,
Mm.
if not worse.
Mm. Mm.
yeah, I would agree with that. He didn't talk a lot about it, but I got the feeling that his condition was pretty severe. You know, either he wasn't addressing the condition, or I don't know. I got the feeling that it was pretty severe. So
Yeah, part of the problem was he had so many side effects. it wasn't just the cancer in his bone, but he had, like I said, he had pain in his shoulder. And he didn't know if it was from the cancer or from something else. So he went to a doctor about that. He had, like I said, he had the issues with his I don't think it was in his brain, but it was in his skull. And I believe he had to have X-ray radiation to his skull. And I know it affected his vision. So he had to go out and get a special pair of glasses that had a prism in the one lens on the right-hand side. So he wasn't ignoring it, but I think what he was doing was he was addressing the side effects more than he was addressing the cancer, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
I guess he
yeah,
thought he was addressing the cancer with supplements and vitamins, which of course,
yeah,
use.
yeah. I just switched off my cameras because I do have a slow internet connection and I got a warning up on the screen. I'll try putting my video on in a few moments. Okay, Jake, I don't know if we have a picture. We should probably put him on the in memoriam page, given that he's been so active in different groups.
Yeah, I did find a picture on his Facebook page, and I did post it on the Facebook.
If you be good enough to send me his dates of birth and his date of birth and that picture, I'll try and get it up. If I can't do it, I'll get Jackie to do it. But she did send me a little video on how to post it on there, so I can follow it and try and get it done.
Will do.
Okay. And before you go, any further thoughts on your next steps?
No,
Okay.
I know. I just haven't really given a whole lot of thought more thought.
Okay. So you haven't started that biopsy yet, eh?
No.
Okay. So we'll come to Ken momentarily, but Ken did meet the what was the name of his medical officer in, what was the name of Jorge's title, Ken? Medical chief officer, what was it? Something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah, I just walked into my house. I've been driving, so I don't know if you guys heard me get out of the car.
Don't worry. I've got it. Medical affairs head for Nubequa. That's what it is. Medical affairs head for darolutamide. And so we just wrote to him today, Jake, but we can follow up with him directly on your, or I can send you his contact details, and you could mention that you've got his name through us, and write to him and ask him about the variants that you have.
Okay.
Let me look and see if he replied to my most recent email to him.
The point is, we have the right person to ask about your issue.
So he's
Okay.
he's more involved than Marchand.
Merchant.
Sorry, Merchant.
I think he's more involved in the darolutamide side. Yeah. I mean, he seemed like he was the one in the know at this get together. There were two medical doctors per se from Bayer, one dealing with another cancer, and this guy was only focused on darolutamide. So, and his card pretty much reflects that as well. He was the first one that at this meeting came up to me and said, you know, he was in charge of darolutamide trials and was in the know. If I had any questions, I could ask him. So, you know, really a good guy. Seemed
So,
he did know Paul, so, and he knew Drake and a couple others that we talk about all the time. So he sounds like he was in the know of all the people that are in the prostate cancer field.
yeah, I mean, I think he's the right guy to ask, and I think if you lay out the mutations that you have, they will be meaningful to him, and
Okay.
he would be aware if there was other research. So I'll be sure. I'm writing it on my piece of paper here, and we'll get you the email address, and you can take it from there.
Okay.
Okay, and just tell him that it was passed on. His name was passed on to you through Ancan and through Ken. Ken, since you have did you want to take some time to get yourself settled at home before you talk to us, or can you talk?
Well, honestly, I was looking for my vape pen, so just give me a second.
All right, well, we'll come back to you in a moment. We'll talk
Okay.
to Jeff Marchie. Okay, well, wait a minute. Jeff Marchie is going to talk about CBD. Maybe you want to listen to that. All right, we'll go to Joel, and then we'll come back to you and Jeff Marchie. Joel, you have some questions for Len. You with us, Joel?
Yes, I'm with you. I got a bad cold, so I'm going to sound funny. But anyway, okay. Last Wednesday, I was at NIH, and they gave me a biopsy. The doctor at the last minute said, "Oh, by the way, do you have sleep apnea?" And I said, "Yeah, I got sleep apnea. Diagnosed with sleep apnea about a month ago." And he says, "Oh, we can't give you general anesthetic now, so we just can give you lidocaine." So that's what they did. They gave me lidocaine and put me on my stomach and drilled. They gave me about, I don't know, 10 dozen shots of lidocaine in my back, and then put a needle in with a drill, and they drilled out 3 different bone specimens. And the nuclear medicine team was observing in an observation booth, telling the doctor what to do and what not to do. And they put me through an MRI, not MRI, a CAT scan, a CT scan machine, about 10, 12 times. They would put me in, make sure the drill was on the right bone or the right place, and put me in and out. So that's how they do a biopsy. I never had one before. So so they did 3 core samples, and I still don't know whether I have Paget's disease or prostate cancer. And I'm seeing Dr. Anton Arakis tomorrow at Johns Hopkins at 3:30 p.m. So so anyway, during the procedure, the doctor asked for a mallet, and Leonard said last time we talked, Leonard said that the doctor was using a mallet to beat at his hip bone or something like that. And I said, "Oh my God, they're going to start beating down on my back, trying to get to the bone." But no, all it was he wanted a mallet because the first sample he dug out of my iliac bone was stuck to the drill, and you bang it out of the drill. So that's all he used the mallet for. So anyway, I've had a lot of problems with medical records at NIH. I've talked to different people, and they give me different answers. To the point that one girl on Friday said, "Oh yeah, the doctor signed off on it. We'll send it to your doctor at Johns Hopkins late this afternoon on Monday." Talked to a girl today on Monday, and she says, "Oh, we have no record of it." So, and then send me another request. So. I don't think they were very well coordinated. Did you have that experience when you were there?
You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Yes, Joel, I had a similar experience. I had to request my medical records, I think about 3 or 4 times before they finally did it right.
Okay, that makes sense because I've had this problem consistent. The medical part of it is very nice. They got you, you know, you're all alone. All the eyes are on you. They take care of you very well. Every time you go through a scan, they're prompt and they are punctual and very efficient. But the medical records part of things are totally different.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think they're just clerical people
Yeah.
in the medical records group, and they're not professional medical staff.
Right. Right. Okay.
By
So
the way, I think previously I had told you and the group in general that the NIH was going to do mutation analysis on the biopsy sample. Well, as it turns out, like 3+ months later, I said, any results yet? And they said, oh, there must have been a misunderstanding. We don't do that here. And so I said, well, I was told that you would do it, and that was why I agreed to have the biopsy. I think they just told me that they were going to do the mutation analysis so that I would agree to the biopsy. So I said, well, in that case, I definitely want my biopsy tissue sample, sent to my doctor so that someone can do the mutation analysis on it.
right.
And so they said, well, we'll have to get back to you. I'll talk with the pathologist, make sure there's enough tissue sample. Fortunately, there was. So I don't know what your expectation was, Joel, if you thought they were going to do it or if they told you they would, but they're not. They're not going to do it. They said it's not part of what we do here. So just make sure that you get control of the biopsy tissue sample for the purpose of mutation analysis.
Yeah, I already asked the Dr. Mina before any of the scans happened, whether or not my doctor at John Hopkins could get a sample. She says, well, we can't, you can get a sample provided there's enough sample to be had. So she says, we will share it with you if we can. That's how she left it. So I don't know what they're going to do. How about your CTC? Did you request your CTC report yet?
Did you say CBC, like complete blood count?
No, CTC, the circulating tumor cells.
Oh, CTC. No, and I had. I think you mentioned that last time. I hadn't even thought to ask them that, and I still haven't asked them that. But I never, I use the portal. They post the results, and I never saw a result for CTCs.
Right. Well, it's not something they normally do, but they do have it available for in-house for some, whatever test results they're monitoring or whatever for other purposes. But so I don't have I don't have a single thing yet. I don't have any of my scans yet. I don't have anything on. The Dr. Antonarkis has supposedly received my 3 scans last Friday at 10:01 a.m. But I don't know. I don't have anything yet, even though I requested it. So anyway, hopefully time will cure that.
Well, I mean, the CTCs is a little puzzling because in order to get any results out of the CTCs, they've got to sequence the DNA that they're getting out of the CTCs. But if they say that they're not doing DNA sequencing there, it's not consistent.
Yeah, I just
Well, I think there may be a difference between just counting circulating tumor cells versus doing a mutation analysis on the DNA within those cells. Yeah, I think a CTC count is probably not terribly different from a red blood cell count, a white blood cell count. I'm not sure about this, but I suspect that's the case.
Yeah, what were you expecting from the CTC, Joe?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't know what, from what I read, CTCs are important upon initial diagnosis of prostate cancer, but I wasn't sure. I was just wanting to make sure that my doctor at Hopkins would know what to do with it. So if he wanted it. So I was just trying to anticipate what his needs might be.
Right. Well, I mean, my understanding is they're important to the extent that they give an indication of how much tumor matter you have. But unless the count is higher, over around 4 units, I forget what the units measurement is, but if it's over
It,
about
uh,
4,
it's cells per 7 ml of blood, 7 milliliters of blood, number of cells per 7
good.
milliliters of blood.
Is
And
it
if
like,
it's over 5, that's definitely a, a concern, sign of metastasis. So I suspect mine would have been positive since I do have metastases. But I'm gonna have to make a note to myself to ask them about that.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, probably it should be in your record, but I guess, what they're not doing, which Len just pointed out to me, is they're not sequencing the CTCs. Um, they're just measuring them to determine the gravity of the disease.
right. Dr. Mina said, one of the managers of the project said, well, it's your blood. We really can't withhold your report. So, but it's not something they give out unless you ask for it.
Okay, well, there you go. Len, you learned something.
Yeah, have to ask for it.
Um, Joel, were you in pain? I mean, the procedure is weird, but were you in pain, and were you in pain subsequently or not?
Well, yeah, yes. The only thing I really felt, I could feel them working on me from a skin and tissue standpoint. I didn't feel any pain, but when they took that drill and bore a core of through my bone, that I felt, and it was like maybe a 3-4 second jolt, and I would feel them pulling back out because
Right.
there was no painkiller on the bone or in the bone. Um,
Yeah.
so and then afterwards, they told me to take Tylenol, and I'm still on Tylenol. So that's been 4 or 5 days now. So I only take Tylenol if I feel the pain in there. Then I'll at that spot I'll take the Tylenol. But if I don't, I don't take it. So I assume that I'll be out of the pain within a couple of days here.
Any advice, Len? How long were you uncomfortable for after the procedure?
Not at all. I didn't even need to take Advil. Once they put me, possibly because, unlike Joel, I had a little bit of fentanyl. I was completely conscious, so it must have been a very low dose. But so I felt once I had the fentanyl running, I didn't feel any pain of the procedure. And then they took me to like the recovery room where I stayed. They monitored me for probably 45 minutes, and I still had no discomfort. And they discharged me, telling me to take over-the-counter painkillers if necessary, but I never had to take anything. What I'm curious about, though, Joel, is that you say they didn't use the mallet on you to kind of break through the bone before they started the drill. So in your case, they just started drilling right away?
Well, they took them 3, 4, 5 times, putting me in and out of the CT scanner to make sure the drill was at the right place on the bone. Make sure they weren't biopsying some bone that was not affected. And then once the determination was made between the nuclear team and the doctor, he just went ahead and drilled. And then he started placing the drill in another place on me. And all this was done through the middle of my back. And if you look at my scar, it looks like they went through and drilled my spine, but they angled the drill to the right place from the middle of my back.
Okay, possibly because mine was in a different location. Mine was anterior in the iliac bone. Yours sounds posterior. Maybe they didn't need to use the mallet.
Or maybe they were afraid to because of the proximity to the spine.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't notice any banging of any type on me at all. It was just the sound of the drill, the electric drill.
Okay.
But I was conscious throughout. I mean, when he asked for the mallet, I says, "Uh-oh, I'm going to get the same treatment that Len had." But no, they didn't. They didn't use the mallet on me.
And when will you have the, well, I guess you have the results of the gallium, and it was, that's what led into the possible diagnosis of Paget's, and now the bone biopsy is going to tell you whether you have prostate cancer in your bone or whether you have Paget's disease. Is that right? Just to summarize?
That was the purpose of the biopsy. Exactly. The doctors still don't know whether which one I have. I think I have prostate cancer, but that's me. I'm not a medical guy. So, but if it's not there, then where the hell is it? With all these scans, I still don't know where it is. And unless it's so small that the tumors aren't big enough, you have to be caught by any scan. But I'm as I said last week, the doctor told me that there were 2 other guys with Paget's disease, diagnosed with Paget's disease before me, out of 210 guys in the clinical trial, and both of those after biopsy proved they had Paget's disease and not prostate cancer. So that has nothing to do with me, but I still think it's prostate cancer myself personally.
Well,
Joel, what was your PSA?
PSA, my PSA is going up like a rocket. It was in May this year, it was at 0.4. In August, 0.7. In November, 0.9. At NIH, 1.02. And I had another blood test before the biopsy, and I suspect it's like 1.05 or something, 1.5 or something by now, because it's going straight up. I mean, my doubling time went from 4 years to 14 months, so on 1 October, to now I'm sure it's way under 10 months.
We have a side mission for you, Joel, if you'd be willing to take it on when you see Antanarakis. And because I don't want to, we'll get into this in some more detail when we talk to Ken. But we just came across a very good paper that Antanarakis just authored on darolutamide. And we have a key question on that, on darolutamide. So it's coming up. You're going to have to stay on and listen. We're creating a little teaser here, but we'll get to it. But we would love Dr. Antanarakis' input based on this this paper that he just wrote. And we could spend quite a bit of time talking about that. So let's go to Joel Blanchette and hear about the CBD, and then we'll get into this these issues around darolutamide and where Ken is. Joel, sorry, Jeff. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I do that, does anybody have any questions for Len or for Joel on bone biopsies? No? Okay. Jeff, you want to talk to us about the update on CBD?
Yeah, I seem to have discovered a little bit of an issue with some CBD. I had been taking for about 3 months the CBD from the pot store, which had 1 milligram of THC for 20 milligrams of CBD. 1 milligram doesn't do anything. And but I didn't get, once I started this, I didn't get sweats at night. I didn't get sweats. Once in a while, I'd feel a little bit of something, but it would go away. Then I bought some CBD from from a store that sells vitamins and minerals, and these are 15 milligram. My other ones are 20s, but I take them about 8 o'clock at night. After taking these for about 3 weeks, I noticed that at night I would start sweating at least a couple of times at night. I'd start getting sweats. And these are 15 milligram soft gels, but they're done from hemp, not marijuana. And I, since I started getting these sweats, I wanted to figure out what's going on. So I went out and bought some more of the other stuff, which is it's like 5 times as expensive. It's $3.50 a pill. And I've been doing it for what, 6 days. And the last 2 days, no sweating at night at all, just absolutely none. So the marijuana-based CBD seems to have worked better. And the fact that I take 20 milligrams at 8 o'clock at night, I don't think the fact that I'm taking 15 at 8 o'clock at night would really be any better. But I'm going to try doubling up on this other stuff. I'm going to experiment some more. But there's also other brands of CBD. This may not be as good a brand. I did some looking, and it turns out that the top 2 brands, rated brands, have none available. They are totally out of stock of the gels or the capsules. So something strange is going on. Maybe they don't work if they're not from the marijuana rather than the hemp. I don't know, but I'm going to try the other pills. I'm going to double up on them just to see, because even if I take 2, it's a third the price of taking the stuff from the pot store. So I just let you know, all CBD does not appear to be equal.
Well, I do know that the CBD from hemp does not have THC, as you mentioned. And that's the only CBD that the CBD stores are allowed to sell. They're not permitted to sell the CBD that's derived from marijuana. Now, whether there's a difference in the balance of the chemical compounds between the hemp CBD and the marijuana CBD is well above my pay grade. I'm sure that if you Googled CBD from hemp versus CBD from marijuana, there's probably a lot that's been studied and written on that. I haven't done that. I haven't tried to do it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of doing that yet.
I think that's probably what I would do, but it may be only Len that can understand the difference amongst us, because I suspect it might be pretty technical. Len, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know much about the difference between the CBD from hemp or CBD from the marijuana plant. The AARP carried an article on that recently, and I think they explained it. And I read the article, but I simply don't remember, the details at that level. But I can tell you this, Jeff, are you in a state that has medical marijuana?
Yeah, I'm in California.
Oh, you can get anything you want.
Yeah.
Because in Connecticut, I get medical marijuana from a dispensary, and the dose of CBD that they give me is 50 milligrams, so it's more than double what you're taking.
Yeah, I don't need that much. The 20 works so good. I mean, it really job once a day. But it's interesting. The 50 would be a lot more expensive, I would think, and it's about $110 for 30 pills from the pot store, whereas 60 pills are $35 from the vitamin store. So there's a major difference in price.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
I'm going to try taking the doubling up on these 15 milligrams I've got, see if it makes any difference. I'm also going to try a different brand of hemp CBD, but I just thought it was very interesting to find out after the last 5 days that the hot sweats went away at night from the other CBD. I didn't think it would, and it did. So that's all I got.
So I just I just Googled CBD from hemp versus CBD from marijuana, and there is an article by lupus chick who I know, Marisa. I know her from Healthy Voices. She's been at Healthy Voices the last 2 years. She's a really nice lady. I don't obviously have time to read the article right now. I'll put the URL right now in the window. Hold on a second. Okay, send it to everybody. But I can reach out to Marisa and after I've read the article and see what else she knows. There are several articles that are in there. You know, I just think it's going to take a little bit of research. I don't see anything. Oh, there's an article there's a Healthline article. Healthline isn't a particularly highbrow site, but they do have some kudos. But I don't see any article here by a good, a highly reputable website. But I have a feeling that it's probably something to do with the difference there. I mean, as you said, Jeff, it just seems too small amount of THC to make that big a difference.
Really? Yeah, he was 1 milligram.
What did you say? 1 milligram?
Milligram.
Yeah.
The lowest dosage treats, candies, are 5 milligram.
Yeah.
Are we talking THC or CBD?
Yeah, that's THC. CBD is 20 milligrams. 1 milligram of THC, because when you buy it at the pot store, they've got to have THC in it.
Oh.
They're not going to produce it without. They told me that last time. I asked them, why don't you have it without it? But as this article mentions, they claim there's no difference. So it could be that this brand of CBD that I got is not that good. I don't know. Irwin is the brand name. Irwin Naturals. Well, that's why I was going to try a different brand as well.
I was just yesterday at like a season gathering open house for somebody, and there was a woman there who I don't really know her, but I know she is. She just opened a CBD store locally. I don't have contact details, otherwise I would right now ask her. But I just think this is going to take a little bit more research, and hopefully you'll report back to us on that, Jeff. Anything else you wanted to mention today?
Well, let me just mention one other thing. I tried to get my my doctor to get in to investigate that DNA test so I could get it. And she said the phone number, they never come back on the phone. They didn't respond to the website that you went to. It seems that they're so overloaded, they're not doing those tests, or it's very difficult to get them done. Anybody else had any experience trying to get that test that you must have posted here about 2 months ago?
I don't know which test it is. I mean,
it was the DNA test for whether or not you were genetically, the BRCA test. There was a free one.
I know what you're talking about. You're probably talking about the Invitae test, which has to be ordered through a doctor, but it's complimentary right now.
Yeah, my doctor couldn't get a hold of them.
Okay. Now, was this your PCP? Or was this Andrea Marchak? Andrea Hartstock?
Yeah, it was Hartstock.
Well, I can only say this, that when I called Invitae, I had no trouble getting through. I got through to them right away. It may be that the medical number is more difficult, but what I would do is I'd call Invitae tomorrow and call the patient number and tell them that your doctor isn't able to order the testing and can't follow up. I just put the name of the Invitae. I'd have to see if I can find the actual telephone number for you.
I have the information on the company. I can I can do that.
Okay. Well, my guess is that did you say you couldn't get through to them as well, or is it just
No, I didn't try, since it says that it should be your doctor or your so I just gave her the information, and then I asked her what happened, and she said that they never came back to the phone. It just went on forever.
well, I think what I would do is I'd call Invitae, and I would tell them that that you're having issues. I'm trying to think who it was that. Oh, it was Rich Jackson, wasn't it? It went to a presentation that they made. I'm looking at the. I'm just putting the website up right now. So I'm just gonna. I'll put this link in the chat window as well. And the story was that if you had a Gleason 7 or higher, then you did not have to pay for the test. And the reason is because they have some sort of a sponsor right now who's looking for information. So what they do is they anonymize all of your data, but they tag you and they match that tag to your doctor. And your doctor has the key to the tag on the other side. So they can't tell who you are, but the doctor can, they can identify your doctor, and then the doctor can let you know if there's anything to be communicated, because they say that they'll let you know if there's any tests that come up that are applicable to your situation, any treatments that come up. Sorry. Are applicable to your situation. Did that make sense? Did you guys all follow that, or did?
Yes.
Yes. Len, you're looking clueless there.
No, I just went to the website. It seemed a little too slick to me. I'm not impressed with this company. I think they're more interested in driving their stock up than doing anything else.
Yeah.
That's the same impression I got, Len. I went to the website too, and it was really hard to find any information on the free testing, and it's like they lead you to all these different links before you can actually get to where you want to go. So I gave up.
Well, but I just got there in 2 clicks. I went to college. I went to the website, and then I clicked on oncology, and now I'm looking at detect hereditary prostate cancer. So I don't think it's that hard. I mean, if you go to the Invitae and then you go from Invitae to anyway, whatever it is, I'm there. I mean, maybe I should put this link. I'll put this link in again, because maybe this is the next link that it's going to take you to. And then I'm not going to click on the learn more, but I think you could probably find it out. But I would just call the company. And I know that when I did, they were fairly helpful. And I think I found that probably through Contact Us. For individuals, here we go. Let's see. Genetic testing with Invitae. I can't find a number right now. I've got to fill in more stuff, but anyway, I'm sure that Jeff, you can get to that number. If you can't, let me know, and I'll happy to help you out.
I can find it without problem with the directions you've given.
Yeah, I think you'll. Here you go. U.S. testing inquiries. It's right. I'm gonna put it in the. I'll put it in the. Up in the box right now. Okay. If anybody listening later, the number.
You broke up a
Sorry?
little bit. You broke up a little bit. Can you repeat
Okay.
what you just said?
Yeah, I just put the number. I just put the number in the box.
Oh.
It's 800-436-3037. 800-436-3037 for U.S. testing inquiries. And we'll try and get it onto the forum for people that are listening if you didn't catch it. But that should, that's, I think, where I would go. Anyone else want to comment on this? Okay. And again, Jeff, please report back to us, because if since we, I mean, we're not promoting this, we don't get anything out of it, but it was something that Rich Jackson thought would be useful to others. And if it turns out that it's all a bunch of malarkey, then we'll have to make that point. But I suspect that something will come of it. Okay, let's go on and talk to Ken. Are you with us, Ken? Yes,
Yep.
you are. See, so let's talk to Ken. First of all, Ken, give us the update, and then we'll get into some of the other issues around your update.
Well, do you want any information on the bear thing or no? Just kind of what I'm up to.
Yeah, you could do that too. But let's talk about you first, and then after that we can go on to the bear thing. Okay.
All right. The nutshell of me is, 60 days ago I started enzalutamide, and the first 30 days enzalutamide appeared to work. My PSA when I started, right before I started enzalutamide, was 4.52, or thereabouts. I'm not looking at it, but it's close to that. So 30 or 28 days later, it drops to 2.47, and then recently it went back up. So I don't know if I have failed enzalutamide as a second line drug. I'm honestly not sure. I've been advised that it's going to be best if I wait another 30 days to confirm, the direction I'm going to go. That's about it.
What did it go up to the last time, Ken?
It went from, 2.45 to 3.81. So it was a pretty good increase. Of course, I was anticipating enzalutamide to take it down below 1 after the first drop. And I think Paul was pretty surprised at MD Anderson per his email that it went up, but it did what it did. It went up. So
My doctor did tell me that to give it 90 days. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
How did yours appear to go down?
well, with enzalutamide, mine did go down. After about 2 months, it actually went down to 0.5. But she said in general, anytime you try a new drug, you need to give it at least 90 days. In my case, she was talking about abiraterone, but I
Right.
think the same thing would apply to Enzy for you. So, don't panic yet. Give it another, 30 or 60.
Well, the panic's already come and gone. So that's already happened. You can't go back.
Well, if it's coming, it's gone. Then that's good. It's gone. That's good to know.
Yeah. So that's it.
Well, that's what he's telling us. But don't believe everything you hear, you know, which Mr. Anderson we're dealing with here. He had to,
What's the rest?
no, I'm saying the panic, you know. I
Oh,
don't know how
I
you
already said I panicked. Oh yeah, I was through the roof. The fact is I expected after the, 9 to 60 days for the bugger to be quite low. I just did. And I got the information and I was pretty panicked. You know, Paul's comments, is probably 6 comments. They were all nice and everything, but quite honestly, didn't really amount to much other than he was trying to get me set, at ease that he would come up with a solution, whatever the deal was. So I don't know. But truly, if that's what you wanted to get out, Rick, that's true. I was over the board flipping crazy.
Mental, as you put it.
Oh
You
yeah, truly, truly mental. In fact,
Yeah.
Rick thought, yeah. So anyway, but I do that, and I get to the point where I could barely talk.
Yeah.
Well, give it a little bit more time, Ken.
Well, that's what both oncology Dr. Korn had stated, and this doctor here locally, that my medical oncologist, he said, I mean, honestly, I can't imagine, but I didn't imagine it was going to go up. So why couldn't it be possible that it would go down after 60 days? So I don't know.
Have
We'll
you
wait and see.
have you had a foundation test to
I did,
identify mutations that you might have?
I did. Um, and I don't know whether or not the test that I had was just for MSI or MR, whatever it is. So when they came back, they said they replied to my question, was I MSI? And they said no. So did I have anything else on the test? I don't believe I did. So if within that test, if you're saying they look for anything, I don't know what you're referring to, Jake. Sorry to say.
Well, okay. When the foundation test that I had, they sent me a report, and they told me certain drugs that they didn't think would work for me, and they listed them. Abiraterone, enzalutamide. They said they would not work because I have certain mutations. If they did, how long ago did you get the report?
Probably a year ago.
Mhm.
Maybe not quite that long ago. I mean, I'm sure I can dig up the report, but nothing was listed as a. I mean, I read the report and it didn't, and my recollection is it didn't have anything on there that was of any value. And I sent it forward to Paul Korn and he said there was nothing on it. There's nothing we can do, nothing we can use from the report. I think Rick looked at it as well.
What did they do it on? Was it on a sample? Was it a liquid test? Because I'm looking here and I didn't make a note whether it was a
It was a
solid.
it was a liquid. It was a blood draw.
It was
It's
a blood.
Washington State, and they drew blood and sent it off to Foundation One, and
Right.
they sent me back the report that there are. I mean, as I recall, and I could look at it again because I know I didn't throw it out. Um, but
Well,
I don't.
on mine, Ken, they listed certain drugs that they thought would work, and certain drugs that they thought would not work.
I'll have a second look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm a little bit different than you, because I had my test after I had been on enzalutamide, and because I was on enzalutamide and bicalutamide for several years, I then developed mutations that, even though they worked initially for me, I developed mutations during that time so that they would no longer work. So it may be am I making sense, Rick? You know what I'm trying to say.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying.
Okay. So it may not be applicable to you. You're on the front end of enzalutamide, so you
Yeah,
probably don't have any mutations.
I think Paul was pretty surprised that it was high, but I don't know. I mean, I would imagine with his experience, if there hasn't been that many guys go from like 4.5 to 2.5 to back to 4.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say other than we'll have to wait one more month and see where it goes.
right.
So I did put in a request today to find out whether or not either MD Anderson or my local med-onc did the VR7.
ARV7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whether or not they did that test, and I haven't heard back yet. I don't believe. For some reason, I thought Paul like MD Anderson did, but I'm just not sure.
The only one
So
I know of that does ARV7 is Hopkins. I don't know.
not anymore. There's I think it's Oncotype. Genomic Health does an ARV7 test.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if they test for ARV7 at Foundation Medicine, but you could certainly call and ask them, Ken. Or you could look on your report and see if it was tested for. But my first response is that this is the kind of pattern that you would see in a man that was ARV7 positive.
Would you think Paul would have had it in the past, since he's been doing this for so long? I don't think I don't
Well,
know.
a lot of a lot of the GU medoncs don't test for it
Right.
because they don't think it's going to make a lot of difference, because they say, look, if you fail it, we'll move on to something else, but at least let's see. So what good is it? And the argument to that with the ARV7 is that, well, you don't waste the time of a couple of months seeing if you fail this one and a couple of months seeing if you fail that one. So, I mean, what you really need to know, if it were me, I would want to know if I was ARV7 positive before I started any of these second-line anti-androgens.
Well, what I've seen, Rick, on ARV7 is it's not an either or. It's not like if you have ARV7, it will work or it won't work. It's just if you're ARV7 positive, I believe you have a lower probability of responding than you would if you have a low ARV7, or maybe it's the other way around. It's not 100% one way or the other, though.
Well, if you're ARV7 positive, I think it's very unlikely you're going to respond to these drugs. I don't know what the percentage is. Len, do you know? If you're ARV7 positive, are you going to respond to abiraterone or enzalutamide?
Now, I don't know what the percentages are. The only thing that makes me suspicious about this in Ken's case is that he had a nice response in the first month. And why ARV7 is a mutation that would develop gradually. It wouldn't just pop in there in 1 month and Ken would be, unresponsive. So I'm wondering if he might not have something. You've probably heard me talk about Xytiga flare. I had that issue when I first started taking Xytiga a couple of years ago. It started going up, but then it started going down again. And my oncologist said, yes, that's a fairly well-known phenomenon, Xytiga flare. Maybe there's an enzalutamide flare. I don't know. But,
Well,
maybe it's worth.
of course, my fingers are crossed.
Yeah. Maybe, it's worth hanging in there at least another 30 days and see what happens.
Well, that was in fact the comment from both med-oncs, Paul and Cortez here, to stay the course for 30 more days and see where it goes, which, I can do. I mean, I don't have much choice really. So stop the drug midstream and then what? I really don't have much choice. So,
But, when you and I spoke on the phone earlier, you said Paul he told you he wouldn't prescribe darolutamide if enzalutamide failed because they're similar drugs. But if he says that, I would show him that research.
yeah, he's got that research, and that's probably why he's taken a little longer to reply, because he wants to look at it before he makes a statement.
Oh,
I
good.
mean, he didn't necessarily say outright that it wouldn't work. He just said It's the same class of drug. It's a very
Right.
similar drug. So without getting into the details, which he doesn't usually like to do, he likes to keep.
Darolutamide has a lot more advantages over enzalutamide. It's a newer, it's the same class, but it's a lot newer and it has a lot more benefits, or can.
No, I saw that on a chart that was presented to this pharma group in Vegas recently. There was, maybe 3 dozen items, like dot items, and both enzalutamide and apalutamide had 3/4 of them filled, and darolutamide only had like a little tiny 3 dots about, and I don't know what the points were, but it was about new stuff and differences between the two drugs, or between the 3 drugs. So I think you're
Well,
right, Jake. I think it's a better drug. I just don't know the facts.
I'm almost
um,
always right, Ken, except when I mess up.
Uh,
Okay.
I mean, he did say, didn't Paul Korn say that he would try to put you on darolutamide because the quality of life issues were definitely improved? He didn't say anything about
well,
about ARV7.
he started the conversation with, yes, you could go on, because what happened was I had started to write an email to him a couple weeks prior and left a blank for the new, you know, the new PSA. So the email was, not poor, it was poorly crafted for the time. I just kind of put in the number and sent it to him. And some of my questions were not, there were questions I was just kind of thinking about, but I didn't change them. But anyway, to answer your question, Rick, his comment was he'd put me on darolutamide unless, after 30 more days, my PSA was rising. We would discuss what he thought was the right choice, after the 30 days. But in his mind, if my PSA did in fact take another rise, um, that I would probably not do either of the 3 drugs, darolutamide, apalutamide, or enzalutamide. He would recommend, at least it appeared to me, he was stating he would recommend abiraterone plus prednisone.
Right.
So,
So here's the issue that I really wanted Joel to speak to Antonarakis about, is whether in fact, and this is what I put in, I think I put it in the reminder this month, whether in fact darolutamide works even if you're ARV7 positive. Because if that's the case, that's a really big issue. And there seems to be some xenograph research in mouse models that darolutamide works even when you're ARV7 positive. And that's really the question, Joel, that we'd love to ask Antonarakis. I've circulated this darolutamide article both to Ken and to Len and to Jake. It's a review article of a bunch of studies, but I thought it was a pretty good article.
Okay, I can definitely ask him that question. I understand what you're talking about.
So what I'm going to do, hopefully I can find this quickly enough, is I'll put the link to the article in the chat window so people can look about it. Len, what was your thought on that Antonarakis darolutamide article? You're on the darolutamide, right?
I am. Well, the only thing I found peculiar, as you and I discussed, was that he said it's unlikely that Bayer will enroll darolutamide in clinical trials for metastatic CRPC. And he said that's because they would have to run a head-to-head if they did that, they'd have to run a head-to-head against enzalutamide, which makes no sense to me because apalutamide got approval for metastatic, and they didn't in clinical trials, and they didn't run it head-to-head against enzalutamide. So,
and yet there are two studies going on right now on darolutamide. There's the one in Asia, in Asia and Europe, and then there's another one where they're doing it as a maintenance dose after docetaxel. So they are, and it is for in the metastatic arena. They are doing some studies.
well,
They're not doing
the
any.
other one I'm aware of is, as you said, in combination with docetaxel. This other one in Asia that you're talking about, was that
Europe, yeah.
that was darolutamide alone for mCRPC?
I don't know, Lynn. I don't remember, to be honest. I did look it up. It's in that article. I didn't realize Antanarakis wrote that article. I didn't pay attention to who the author was. When Rick sent it to me, I looked at table 4, and then I looked at his where he had the existing trials, and 2 of them, and that's where I found the 2 having to do with mCRPC.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the article was written by somebody called Bastos and Antanarakis. Where's Bastos? Bastos is, in Brazil. Interesting. So one is Antanarakis and the other author is from Brazil. And I'm just looking at it right now. I pulled it up, and table 4 lists all the trials. There are 5 trials that they list. And there is a trial, there's a phase 2 trial called Odenza, where they're studying enzalutamide versus darolutamide.
Is that the one that's in Europe?
Reference. I don't know. But I'll put the trial reference in the window, and somebody can look it up whilst I'm talking. It's a little hard to walk and chew gum at the same time sometimes. But there's the trial reference for that trial. But yeah, I am looking at the article right now, and any of you have clicked on the link, you just have to scroll down to table 4, selected ongoing trials with darolutamide in prostate cancer. And the one thing that I'm really interested in is whether it works in the face of ARV7, because 30% of all men, I don't know if this is all men with advanced disease or all men, period, have this ARV7 mutation, which we seem to think interferes with the workings of abiraterone, enzalutamide, and darolutamide. And I do know that there are men, I mean, just from my own experience, there are men who have had a response in the first 28 days, and then that response has stopped, and it's gone the other way, and it's turned out those men are ARV7 positive. So, again, I don't understand a heck of a lot about these androgen receptor mutations. But I do think that the sort of response that Ken had, it's quite possible that it could be down to an androgen receptor mutation. If it is, and it's ARV7, then the likelihood is Ken won't respond to the abiraterone either.
Right.
At the same time, if darolutamide works where these other ones don't, then it's yet another reason. And the one thing that Paul Korn said, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, is that he would try to help you to get darolutamide.
That is correct.
So, it's kind of an interesting discussion here. I wanted to just check in with, I see that Richard Foodie, and also Richard Jackson. Oh, it's the Richards that have arrived. Rich Jackson, you must have heard us taking your name in vain. Jeff Marchi was saying that his doctor had a heck of a time within the day. So we'll come back to you momentarily. I just want to finish up with Ken here. Is there anybody on the call that would like to give him some support over this issue that hasn't spoken yet?
I can take a hint.
Yeah, in that table 4, there was the Odenza trial, darolutamide versus enzalutamide phase 2, but it's only a patient preference trial. It's not a head-to-head efficacy trial.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure darolutamide is going to win that competition if for patient preference because it doesn't penetrate the blood-brain barrier.
Right. Okay. Anyone else to talk to Ken before we move on? Ken, see if you can find out whether your FMI test included ARV7, or if you have a definitive answer as to whether you're ARV7 positive. And of course, the other question is, does your ARV7 status change? That's something I don't know. I mean, can you be ARV7 negative and then after treatment become ARV7 positive? We've never really discussed that. I honestly don't know, but it's a question that I think needs answering.
It would make sense that it would. I mean, because what I found is the mutations that I have developed after taking enzalutamide.
Right.
So it would make perfect sense that ARV7 would be similar, right?
Yeah, that might be something else you want to ask Paul. That when you ask him to check on your ARV7 status, whether status from a year ago, a year and a half ago, could be different from what it is today. Ken.
Yeah, I think that's a good question for sure.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know if it's a mutation or if it's something that you always have. I don't know.
It is
well,
a mutation.
it's fairly well agreed that ARV7 is a mutation or a selection, however, or some combination of both, in response to repeated treatment of the androgen receptor with some drug, let's say enzalutamide.
Uh-huh.
So ARV7 is not going to disappear or revert back to normal on its own. That would only happen if you had a therapy that was targeting ARV7 and the cancer cells says, well, I give up on making more ARV7. It's not helping me, so it would revert back to some other form, some other mutation or the wild type. I don't know if I made that clear. It's like with Bill Burhans. He had BRCA2 germline, but after a couple of years of olaparib therapy, he completely reverted back to normal or wild type. So he no longer had the BRCA2 mutation. That's really crazy. But that's what happened because it was under selection pressure or, from successful treatment with olaparib.
But what you're saying, Len, is that that was specifically being targeted. That BRCA7 was specifically being targeted. So it reverted from its mutation back to its wild type because it said there's no point in mutating anymore.
Right. That's right. Basically, that's what I intended to say. I don't know what I said. But.
Right. But with Ken, we haven't been focused on any treatment on the androgen receptors until he started taking the enzalutamide just a couple of months ago. But I mean, I think you can be, well, I know you can be ARV7 positive when all you've done is androgen deprivation therapy.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
you can be de novo positive for ARV7.
right. So, you know, just being on ADT is a treatment that can affect the androgen receptors.
Yep.
So anyway, I think the bottom line is just to check and see if you know, if you are ARV7 negative, can you become ARV7 positive and vice versa?
You know,
Okay.
I just looked at my Foundation Medicine report, Rick, and they don't say specifically what AR is they do check for. They just say we check for the AR gene. So I assume that includes ARV7. I don't know. It was not one of the ones they found for me. But I always thought it was different than a regular mutation. I thought it was a something that made you, like you said, less susceptible to the second line anti-androgens. I don't know.
Well,
I guess the only way to know for sure would be to call Foundation Medicine.
Right, and that's what a mutation is. I mean, it makes you more or less susceptible to certain drugs. So it's like the report that you just got on your liquid biopsy, Jake, where it says you have this mutation or that mutation, so you may be a candidate for this drug or the other drug. Or the research that you did that suggested that because you have a certain androgen receptor mutation, you know, maybe biolutamide might work or darolutamide.
Right. Now, what I'm saying, Rick, is the AR. My understanding of ARV7 is something that you're born with. I don't think it's a mutation that you develop. I think it's something. No, Len.
No.
Len says no.
Well, as I said earlier, it's possible that some patients are ARV7 positive de novo, even without treatment, but that's a very low percentage. But they have proven or shown that most instances of ARV7 positivity result from years of treatment with enzalutamide or Xytiga or apalutamide. Well, not Xytiga because it doesn't affect the receptor, but you know, some of the other androgen receptor blockers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting, you know, I don't think we have enough knowledge is the bottom line. I think we know the questions to ask, which is usually the best we can do here, to pose the right questions. But we've got to get answers from people like Paul Korn or Emmanuel Antanarakis as to more specifically how this ARV7 variant works, and also whether darolutamide works around it or not, or what we think. I don't think there's anything definitive, but what we think. And also, we did write to, or Ken wrote, I helped him, but Ken wrote to this guy Ortiz, Jorge Ortiz today, and we asked him that question too. So, you know, we've got a question out there as to more about ARV7. So let me, I first of all want to check in with Rich Jackson. Rich, are you on the line?
I'm here.
Good, good. So Jeff Marchi, you just came on right after we finished the conversation, but Jeff Marchi mentioned that Andrea Hartstock, his doctor, tried to get hold of Invitae and they never called back. They left her hanging on the line because he wanted to do the Invitae test. I suggested that Jeff reach out to Invitae, but do you have the contact details of the lady who gave you the presentation?
That I do not.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, in that case, Jeff, no change in your marching orders. I guess you'll have to call Invitae and ask them what's going on. So We'll leave it at that. Everything okay with you, Mr. Jackson? All quiet on the Eastern Front?
It's still quiet.
Okay. Okay. How's the weather in Virginia Beach? Are you freezing your ass off down there too?
Short sleeve shirt weather today.
Oh, okay. All right. Len's smiling. You got competition from Norfolk, Virginia, Mr. Sierra?
I'll stay put here. We had 83 today. I'll stay right here.
Okay. Well, you know, I was just thinking you didn't have to get on the train. You could stop at Virginia Beach, you know, or at Norfolk.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Rich if he heard the news about Chris.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a long discussion about him earlier, but sad. It's, you know, as it always is. It's very sad. And I knew you had known him better than probably most of us. So anyway, I'm done.
Mr. Foodie.
Yes, Davis, how you doing?
How are you? Are you singing Christmas carols?
Not yet. Next Tuesday, Christmas Eve, I will.
All right. And where are you going to do that?
In church.
Okay. All right. And how are you feeling?
I feel I feel better after having spoken to Donna Wilson. This last chemo session was kind of tough, and normally with 3 days of chemo and then the fourth day Neulasta, I would recover day 5 or day 6. I would start to feel stronger, but this last time it took me about 10 days, and then when I saw Donna for a fitness class, I told her about it, and she said she could tell that I wasn't feeling well, and she said, well, you've had so much chemo, get used to it. This is your new normal. And so that actually cheered me up because, you know, I understood that. And so if this is my new normal, then I just have to handle it. I just have to deal with it. And she said, but you've got to exercise every day. Even if you feel terrible, you've got to find a way to get yourself to exercise. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you've got to exercise. You've got to get your body moving and get those muscles flexed and tensed and pumped, and that will help you feel better. She said it might not make any sense, but it will. So I've been doing that since, exercising almost every day. And she said, do it in the morning, you know, after you wake up, because you're probably in a better frame of mind, and physically you're probably feeling better after having hours of rest. And she said, if you wait until the afternoon, you're going to lose your motivation. You're going to start feeling tired, and you're just not going to want to do it. So do it in the morning. And so I've been doing that. And some days I've been able to get a lot of exercise in, some days not a lot. Today I went to Blink and I did 30 minutes of cardio, which was, I was really proud of doing that. And I did a lot of walking today in the city. So that was good. But, you know, the more that I do, the better I do feel. But I'm accepting how I feel, this sort of like the chemo brain and the fatigue is my new normal. And I'm comfortable with that now. It's not like it's my fault or there's something wrong with me. This is just, well, there is sort of something wrong with me, but
Right.
you know, it's just this is the way it is. And so she even said that there are people who even a year after they stop chemo still don't feel themselves, you know, feel 100% until all of a sudden they just do. But so anyhow, so that's good. And then I decided to, I was scheduled for a lung biopsy on Thursday, the 19th. And I talked to Len and a couple of other people, and I've decided not to do the lung biopsy because with COPD, with emphysema as an ex-smoker, I've got a 10% higher risk of a lung collapse. And even though this nodule they targeted close to the surface, because of my COPD, I'm still at risk for the lung collapse. And, it could be, if it does collapse, it could be a small collapse, or it could be a collapse that requires 4, 5, 6 days in the hospital. And I just don't want to be in the hospital on Christmas. Just don't want to do that with all that's happened to me this year. So I wrote to Dana and asked her if we could postpone it to January. And I'll also have a CT December 30th. So we'll have another image to look at to see, to see what's happening with these nodules. The irony of it is, I don't know if irony is the right word, but so there's at least 2 nodules that are targets for possible cancer nodules. And one of them is easy to get to, the other one's very high risk. And it's not easy to discern on a CT image which nodules are cancerous and which are not. So if we do when we do the biopsy for the nodule that they can reach easily, that might come back non-cancerous, but the other one could be cancerous. So, it's a dilemma.
I have a question for Richard, because I'm just looking back at my notes, and way back in October of 16, they were seeing lung spots, and my note says they were uncertain what they were then. So how about the comparison between the size and location of those lung nodules back in, well, I see a note in October 16, in July of 17, suspicious lung nodules. Are they changing in size? Are they changing in location? Are they getting bigger? Are they getting smaller?
They're ever since I've been getting CT scans, and they've been studying. They've included the lung nodule activity. They've been waxing and waning. Mm-hmm. Some nodules get bigger, some get smaller. They move around a little bit. So the pulmonologist thinks that they are infectious or inflammation and not cancerous. If it were cancer, as Donna Wilson said, lung cancer nodules don't get bigger and smaller. They just get bigger, and they get bigger fast. And so it's she thinks that they're infection and inflammation as well. And her credibility for that is, I don't know if you remember, but she worked in Boston, Mass Hospital for 18 years as an oncology nurse with lung cancer. So she's got a lot of hands-on experience as a nurse. Yeah, so they've been waxing and waning. That's how they describe them, waxing and waning. And with the November scan, when they compared it against the October, or maybe it was September, one of the nodules that had gotten bigger got smaller, and one that was smaller got bigger. So, there's activity on both sides, the right and the left, and it's.
I'm going to connect you tomorrow with Jerry Deems. Have you've I'm sure you've heard us mention his name before, Jerry Deems.
Yeah.
He's the vice chair, at least until the end of the year. He's the vice chair at us too, of the board. And he's a wonderful guy. I've known him quite a long time now. And he has a very strange type of prostate cancer, diagnosed back in 1999 with lung nodules. And those nodules would increase, they'd go away, they'd come back. He was treated by Snuffy Myers for years and years and years. And then when Snuffy retired, Snuffy moved him on to Charles Drake at Columbia Presbyterian. As recently as about a month ago, They were talking about biopsying the lung nodules. They were concerned about a lung collapse. So it's much the same. And I just think it might be helpful for the two of you to compare the notes, because there could be some similarity there. And so I'll write an email tomorrow, and I'll put your phone numbers in, and have a chat with Jerry and talk to him about his experience with lung nodules.
That'd be
It goes
great.
back an awful long time. Yeah,
That sounds,
yeah. I don't know why it just dawned on me right now.
Well, the attention on my lung nodules has just been recent, since that Friday, September 13th. You've got less than a year to live. So,
Well, wait a minute. When you said, which Friday is that? Are we talking about this year?
yeah, Friday, September 13th, 2019.
Right. But you had these lung nodules for ages, and they've been reported going back. I mean, I have them going back to 16, maybe even before. Right?
Well, yeah, right. In 2016, the activity of the nodules raised a red flag, and they talked about doing a biopsy, but the oncologist and the pulmonologist had a disagreement about it, so they decided to wait 3 more months to the next CT scan. And sure enough, that activity subsided. So the activity went away. But that's what actually convinced Dana that maybe I don't have lung cancer. She did that comparison too in 2016.
Right. And then this year on September 13, who was it that said to you that, who gave that prediction?
This was my 3-month follow-up after I'd been, and it was in conjunction with my being released out of the hospital and having had several chemo sessions and radiation. So this was my first meeting, and this was our first CT and bone scan. And the meeting opened up with the fellow, and the fellow said, the prostate cancer is better, your bone mets are unchanged, but the activity in your lungs, we believe that you have lung cancer, and this is very serious. And so he opened up that appointment, that meeting, and then after he briefed me on the prescription being immunotherapy, which is also life-threatening, he said, "No, this is very, very serious." Then he left, and Dana came into the room, and she repeated what he had said, but I just I haven't actually spoken to her about how that came to be.
But let me interrupt you. I mean, Dana had said if the nodules can go, it can't be lung cancer. She told you that in 2016. So now you have nodules that come and go, and all of a sudden it is lung cancer? Am I missing something here?
Well, Dana said that so Len joined me for an appointment with Dana on October 11th. And that's when she made that, she commented on that CT. And that's when she said, I now don't believe that you have lung cancer. But September 13th,
here's what I feel. I suspect they hadn't reviewed the notes, and she hadn't really thought about it. And then she went back and she looked and she see I have nodules, don't have nodules, and they go. And she figured out that's yes. But I certainly would love for you to compare your notes with Jerry, because Jerry also has some weird mutations, and he doesn't have regular prostate cancer like you. So, the two of you may be able to compare strategies, shall we say. He's thinking, he hasn't done chemo, he's just studying chemo. So I'll be able to help him on that score too.
Okay.
Len,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Len, did you want to follow up at all with Rich on anything?
Um, yeah, when Richard and I spoke last, I don't know, maybe a week ago or so, I completely agreed with him to postpone the biopsy, perhaps indefinitely, but certainly till January, and wait for the next CT scan. And Richard had told me at the time that I think it was Kaplan, the pulmonologist, who said she thought that those lung nodules were granulomas, which is just a tissue growth in response to infection or inflammation, and it's not cancer, and it doesn't turn into cancer. But actually, what I wanted to do is once again congratulate Richard on his incredible strength and spirit. Yeah, and also Donna. I mean, God bless Donna. She gives out tough love, right? You go to her and you say, "Oh, that last chemo round really kicked my butt," and she says, "Well, this is your new normal. Get used to it." and you took it in the right spirit, and you said, "Okay," and that's great. It's fantastic.
Can't say no to Donna.
No, she is a strong woman.
Yeah.
No, and Richard, I have to tell you, it's great. It's so great that you are doing this exercise. We always tell people, do your best to exercise during chemo. I mean, you've heard me say this before. The rest, other people have heard me say it before. But I go back to Abrams, Don Abrams, who's the chief oncologist at San Francisco General, and he runs the integrative medicine group at UCSF. And he told the story one time when we were doing a webinar about a friend of his in Chicago who actually administers the chemo whilst his people are on the treadmill. They're hooked up to the chemo, getting the chemo, and he's got them walking on the treadmill, getting it. And we know it's important. We know it helps you. How about your chemo brain issues? How are you doing with that?
It's sometimes I can just be sitting in a chair and my mind goes blank. And now that I know that that's normal, since I spoke to Donna, I'm able to say, get out of it. So I'm able to recognize that it's not, it's something I can shake off. I can try to shake off. So I'm aware, and I'm aware, and that's very important to be able to handle it. So, and I find that once I start working on something, it's a little tough sometimes to get started, but once I get going and my mind is involved, engaged in it, then it will hold. But if I stop to take a break, I guess the concentration. So if I break the concentration, then it might take me a little bit of time to get back into it.
Right.
The brain can feel a little foggy, but I will say this. I don't want to keep harping on the exercise, but after an exercise session, everything is working great. Everything is, like for a couple of hours or even into the next morning, everything is just like working like it used to. So it's so that's why Donna is. I just realized now why Donna said every day. So so you get that.
Are you doing any brain exercises?
No. I've got some things here like a creative whack pack. And some Mensa exercises. I just moved them on my bookshelf, so I handled them. I think maybe I should take a look at that. I love doing math. I was thought about sometimes like doing a Google search for algebra or calculus on the internet. Maybe there's.
What about Sudoku? Do you do Sudoku?
Who?
Sudoku. Sudoku.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do that. I love doing that. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, well, because doing those Sudoku puzzles, that will really help you too. That gets the gray matter going. If you get into the habit of doing that every day, you find the puzzle for the day and whatever the paper is. If there's one at a time, so there's probably one in the puzzle, and you do it every day.
Yeah.
So I'd strongly recommend that. Anyone else? We're coming up to the witching hour, and I just wanted to see if there's anybody else that would like to talk to Richard.
Hey, Richard, do you ever talk to any of your doctors about a prescription for Ritalin or methylphenidate, the generic name? We were just talking about this last week in a different context, but I'm sure you've heard of it. It's just a mild stimulant, and it might help you get a little motivated to exercise when you're feeling the fatigue from the chemo.
No, I've never asked about that, but I'm going to make a note on that, and I'll ask them. I'll ask them at my next appointment.
Okay, good.
Yeah. If you listen to the last week's session, we talk about it at some length. There's Ritalin, and then there's another drug that was raised. But listen to the session from last week, Mr. Foodie.
Was that the
Let me ask you one last question. Are you spending Christmas with friends?
I'm sorry, say again, please.
Are you spending Christmas Day with friends?
I am. I'm going to, on Christmas Day, I'm going to the Radio City Christmas Spectacular. And then afterwards, a friend is joining me, and we're going to go see the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center and watch the ice skaters and eat lunch at the American Cafe, which overlooks the ice skating rink. And then we're going to walk up and down Fifth Avenue and look at all the store windows. So we're going to have a New York City Christmas Day spectacular.
Okay, well, we December 30th is our next meeting. Everybody, no meeting next week because it's Christmas Eve. Where Len will be participating of fish, but we will be back on December 30th. And Mr. Foodie, we expect a report on your Christmas Day in New York City.
Thank you. It's something my family used to do all the time when we were growing up here. So this is, like with everything that's happened to me, I just wanted to do something that made me feel very happy and I love doing. And so this was what, this is what I decided to do. This I want to spend my Christmas. And tomorrow I'm going to see, I decided I'm going to do all the Christmas shows I love to see this year because I don't know what's going to happen next year. So I'm going to see the Messiah or hear the Messiah tomorrow night, New York Philharmonic. And then I'm going to see the Nutcracker Ballet. And then I'm going to see Christmas Carol, the show, the Christmas Carol.
Okay. I think you should enjoy it. I'm really pleased that you're not on your own on Christmas Day. I'm really pleased.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Well, we're at the end of the session. We sadly managed to fill up another 2 hours without too much difficulty. And I just personally want to wish everybody a really happy holiday season. I know Hanukkah starts on the Sunday, and Christmas is on Wednesday, so it's for Kwanzaa. When does Kwanzaa's coming up too, Sylvester? Kwanzaa starts the day after Christmas, doesn't it?
I don't know. But I do want to wish everybody a happy holiday season.
Okay, and us to you. Where are you going on Christmas Day?
I'm going to visit my sister in the nursing home.
Good for you. Good for you.
Good man.
Okay. All right. So,
okay.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. We'll be back in 2 weeks today. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.
Bye. Thanks, Rick, Len, everybody. Bye-bye.
Oh, I just realized. Oh, gosh. Oh.